how do you deal with those moments when you're absolutely like, you are empty, you want to give up, and you almost surrender to the death of life? You're like how do you, because I know myself on various trips there were times when I'm sleeping up rough and there's a storm and you're on your own, and you reach a point where it's like, listen, if I die, I die. Like, you know, you kind of reach that point, and I imagine on an ocean cross like that, it's even way more compounded.
Well, like countless moments of despair. I just got like incredibly unlucky with the conditions, and so the distance from New York to Galway is about 2,650, 2,700 nautical miles, and I ended up rowing 3,450 because I went backwards about between 400 and 500 nautical miles over the course of the whole thing.
And that's just, you get flipped around, you don't look at the compass and you're...
Well, it's just, or there's adverse currents, so currents going to back the opposite way, and you just don't have the power to row against them, or if you do, you know, it'll bring you north. You know, you can't get any sort of headway, you can't get any progress against it, and then headwinds. So
is there someone you can call and go, listen, you know, the way like life we're so used to having, I'll take out my phone, I'll check Google Maps, like you can't do that. Like, where do you turn to? Is it just like...
I mean, there's beauty in not having any choice, like,
course,
because right, you know, it strips away all that fluff, yeah, and then, you know,
or the illusion of control, it loses that, where suddenly it's like, okay,
and it's total self-reliance, like, you know, and that's knowing that that is within your capacities, you know, is really like, and of course that comes back to the training, like that, you know, you're ready, you have to be ready for moments like that, you know, where there's nobody's coming to help you, like, you know, so you got to be able to deal with it. And so physically, I'd like to think that no matter what happens, I have the capacities here to deal with whatever comes at me, you know, and I clearly have to be trained to a high level, and mentally as well, you know. So in those moments of despair, self-awareness is your number one human attribute that you can use, because you have to be aware of that internal narrative.
Like,
right?
I'm angry, I'm upset,
yeah,
I'm like a lunatic right now.
And it's just very destructive, or maybe you're telling yourself some story, and then, you know, that can be going on. Like, there's always conversation going on in our heads, and most of the time we're unaware of it, you know. So it's just, you know, having that capacity to recognize that, because if you're not aware, you can't change it. And then how do you change your state then? Well, what I found is that using the powers of concentration, so concentrating on something that's within your control in a physical prism, or physical endeavor at least, you're able to kind of redirect your mind to a much more neutral place. So you're able to get away from that negative, whatever, overwhelming, stressed, anxious, in this case, moments of despair. And then, you know, get to a place of control firstly, and neutrality. Like, if imagine I'm just constantly thinking about Galway and how far, and this is not far from the case, like, you are often, your mind just is kind of wired to think about the outcome, right? But that doesn't serve me in any way. Like, I have no control over the outcome. I just have control of this present moment and what I'm doing right now, and the actions that can get me there. Yeah, I have control of that. So if I concentrate on those, it just helps my mental state by kind of neutralizing it. So that's the process I often went through, just to control my mind. There was one particular phase. So milestones are a big thing out there, you know, and I got to kind of one of my last big milestones, 500 nautical miles to go to Galway. And by the time I got to 400 nautical miles to go to Galway, it was 13 days later.
And like, how long does it take? Like, how many miles can you row a day? Like,
that should take about 2.5 days on normal conditions, not even good conditions. That should take 100 miles, should take 40 miles a day roughly, so 2.5 days. It took me 13 days. That's rowing 11 hours a day, every day. One day minus 7 miles, another day 2 miles for 11 hours work, another day 4 miles, another day 7 miles. So like, like, I honestly felt I was in rowing purgatory, and I was damned for the rest of my life to be in that part of the ocean. Like, I just couldn't get any progress, and the way I dealt with it,
you're into the wind, you're uphill the whole way,
constantly winds, headwinds, and a little bit of current as well, and I just can't, you know. Yeah, basically the steepest hill you can imagine, just kind of trying to run up that constantly, and I was just treading, you know, I was just getting nowhere. So yeah, the dealing with that was just all about, you know, controlling the moment. So what's within my control in this very moment, and then concentrating on that.